Hello and welcome to the Blueprint Review podcast, our not quite monthly chat about a wide range of films, new or old, popular or obscure, focusing largely but not exclusively on physical media, much like the site itself. I keep changing my kind of remit for this podcast. When we first started doing it, I was determined not to theme it, and I was just doing kind of what we watched. And then we did a themed episode, and I enjoyed it, and we've kind of gone down the theme kind of route. But today I'm going to do something completely different. It's going to be a bit of a self-indulgent episode, I'm afraid. And is because back in September, I realized that Blueprint Review turned 15. So yeah, 15 years of Blueprint Review. And so I wanted to celebrate, but I was busy in September. I just didn't get around to writing anything up because I can remember when we turned 10, we made a big deal of it. We had a load of feature articles and things. And so I wanted to do something, but I just didn't get around to writing anything. And so instead, I figured I should get the podcast back on the go, which we've not done for a couple of months, and do a 15-year celebration of Blueprint Review. So that's what we're going to do. It's just a bit of a Blueprint Review love-in today. So apologies if you were expecting talk about random movies or westerns or whatever like we did recently. It's we're just going to look back at the website history, really. But I do think this is going to lead into conversation about some films, as expected. Joining me tonight, we have Leon Vegas.
Hey, hello. It's always a pleasure to be on. I always have a great time chatting about whatever we end up talking about, which is usually varied. I feel like we always talk about something different each episode.
Yeah, it's good for me. I mean, it's always hard to gauge how many people listen to podcasts, but even if no one's listening, I quite enjoy just chatting about movies for an hour or so.
Absolutely.
Cool. And also on the show tonight, we have Justin Richards.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you again, Dave and Leon. So, yeah, nice to say hi. And your collection of DVDs gets bigger and bigger every time I see you, Leon.
Thank you. We moved recently, so I have more space for the shelves now, which and this isn't even all of it.
No, I can imagine.
I'm in the wrong room tonight. I've got my CDs behind me instead of my DVDs. But no, yeah, I'll just collect anything shiny and disc shaped. It's just
well, I'll just put my camera on briefly because you can just see there's loads of books in the background. Most of them are movie-related books, but yeah, you can see there's quite a lot. Anyway, but it's not a very interesting background. I know I've got
it's all right. Space. And actually, I realised I usually put the podcast as just audio these days, and no one knows what we're talking about. I guess they can imagine. So yeah, before we kind of kick in, what I decided to do for this episode to celebrate Blueprint Review, I've kind of asked everyone to come up with some lists related to Blueprint Review, and I'm not sure what people have done for this, so it's going to be a bit of a mystery. But before we get into that, I thought I'd just delve into the history of Blueprint Review, just in case anyone's interested. So actually, the website, although it's Blueprint Review itself is 15 years old, in a way, this whole thing kind of started with my own blog called Dave's UK Film Reviews, which a very cleverly thought out name there, which was on Yahoo GeoCities back in the day, where I just used to review whatever I was watching, really. I kind of started blogging on there. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I think that wasn't the GeoCities one. I had something else on GeoCities way back when the internet was in its kind of early days. But then I started Dave's UK Film Reviews a little bit later. I started doing that, and I was enjoying posting these reviews. And what happened is that at the time I was working for a company called Blueprint Film, and Darren, who ran Blueprint Film, kind of saw what I was doing this blog, and he had an idea of he was really keen on kind of expanding the brand of Blueprint at the time, and so he kind of suggested to me, he says, if Blueprint set up a website, a web address for you and host it, would you be willing to kind of run a Blueprint Film Review website just to kind of help boost the brand as just something on the side, really? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I just kind of shifted what I was doing on Dave's UK Film Reviews onto Blueprint. But because it was done with the company, we kind of wanted to make it a bigger deal. So we got a couple more people involved. Some of the other people at Blueprint originally wrote for the site. And then we found some other kind of interested people to join in, and so yes, that was the beginning of Blueprint Review, and since then it's just grown and grown, and it's over. As I say, originally it was more just generally about film. We'd get, and also, the idea is to kind of films, video games, and TV and things, and we used to have more of a range of things around those topics, but over time, somehow, we started to get more screeners sent over. It's partly me. I kept contacting more and more people about covering particular labels, releases. And over time, that's kind of what we've become specialized in. I mean, we do still branch out. We do still feature reviews of kind of just miscellaneous films, and we do still cover soundtracks occasionally and video games occasionally. So we do still branch out a bit, but we do have this kind of focus on physical media, which is I don't know. I guess it's just gone with what I'm interested in, really, because I've been kind of running it since day one. But it's not just me writing the reviews. I mean, before I get into things, I don't want to forget to thank all the writers. We have a pool of writers who contribute and put a heck of a lot of hours in days into creating all the content that keeps the site going and has kept it kind of relatively popular, I think, for 15 years. It's always hard to judge. I don't know what good numbers are for kind of niche websites about physical media, but I think we do pretty well. Yeah. And just to have lasted this long is quite impressive in the kind of online world. And so
what sort of numbers are you getting, Dave?
Ooh, I think that's a question. I think kind of, let me have a quick look.
Well, 15 years is a long time, mate. Have you counted how many reviews you've actually written? Because I went through my reviews and it was over 500.
Wow.
So,
I have a letterbox list. So this wouldn't encapsulate everything, but I have a letterbox list for films that I've covered for the site. Yeah. And right now it's at 167, but that doesn't count some of the other like oddities, because I know I've covered a few like video game related things in the past, and then obviously like some features and interviews and stuff like that. So I say probably about 175 right now. I'm just gonna throw in that number. But yeah, I'm really proud of what I've been able to do so far, and those numbers are hopefully going to go up even more in the future.
Excellent. Yeah. Fingers crossed. That I don't know. I haven't added mine up, but it's difficult because I know you can find, if you go in the back end, you can kind of look your name up and see how many are on there. Yes. But the problem is, in the early days, I didn't just do reviews. Like I would post, we did some like lists and polls and all sorts of crazy stuff, and it kind of polluted my numbers a bit, I think. So I'm just looking at our stats, and we've had a massive spike in the last couple of days. I'm not sure why. So we've actually got way higher than usual this month. So we're at like 17,000 visitors this month.
Wow.
But I think a lot of that is just this random spike. I'm not quite sure what's causing this. Well, I'll tell you what, Justin. Yeah. It is Weekend of Trash 30. It's well, that's the most popular one over the last 28 days. Although that's not got high enough to cause that surge alone, but we got like 464 page views in the last month. And I didn't even post it. It was longer than a month ago. So
yeah. It's been since August.
Someone's interested in something that's on there.
Yeah.
So cool. So yeah, but I think usually I think that is higher than usual. I think it tends to be more maybe around 5 to 8,000 a month. I think something like that. Visitors.
That's a lot of people.
Sounds pretty good.
Stuff.
Yeah. I think it helps. We have well, I don't know about everyone else, but I always put my reviews on like IMDb and things like that, and that does help kind of feed it in. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. It's and whenever I kind of talk to fellow boutique kind of Blu-ray collectors and I mention the website, I do quite often get in. I know that website. I don't know if they might just be being polite. But I don't know. I'm sure a lot of those people are being honest. But
yeah, I mean, when I think I told you this, but when I initially like joined the site, I was like, oh wait, no, I actually do read the Blueprint constantly, because I'm sure we'll get onto this a bit later, talking about like how we all like found ourselves in the Blueprint review system. But no, when I initially saw your post regarding looking for new writers and everything, I was like, oh wait, no, I read your review, and I remember the exact review that I'd read most recently. It was the Romero film Martin, the second site release. Oh, yeah. I read that and I was like, wait, this guy wants me to write for them. What? So that was just kind of a bit of a surreal moment, because I at that point, and still now, I do check for like upcoming releases. Most of the time I'll just read what if I'm too late for a disc, I'll just wait until there's a review on the site and see what some other writer thinks of it. But no, that's something I do most of the time anyway for releases, just to gauge whether or not they're worth picking up, or I'll just wait for the inevitable sale.
Cool. Well, I guess we can get. Well, you've kind of covered a bit of it now, anyway. But yeah, I was going to kind of lead into to kind of your histories with the website, like when you discovered it and when you joined and things. We I guess we talked about this in a previous episode, but it can't hurt to bring it on again. I guess you mentioned a little bit there, but how did you get involved, Leon?
Yeah, so I was just like scrolling through Facebook, and I want to say it was the Home Video Boutique group, maybe
Yeah, I
something
think
along
so.
those lines. But you posted a listing, and it was basically like, "Hey, does anybody want to cover or write reviews for my website Blueprint Review?" And then just kind of highlighting like all of the labels that are associated with the site, so your Arrow Videos, your 88 Films, stuff like that. And I was like, I really love these labels. I love yapping about films on Letterboxd and YouTube and stuff. So I was like, what's the harm in just reaching out? And then since then, like I mentioned a little bit ago, I've written over 150 covered over 150 films already. And that was, when did I start writing? 2023, maybe? Maybe
Yes,
20, yeah, it's been a couple of years. It maybe 2022. It was either late 2022 or early 2023. But yeah, no, I've been writing for the site since, and no, it's been incredible so far, and I can't wait to just continue writing more in the future. And I've met so many people from it, through the podcast, through just in general. Like I've made a few friends in the kind of like physical media space as well, which has been great. And I've even done a couple of interviews and features for the site, which is just unbelievable. I never thought I'd be doing anything on like that level.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to jump in on this, but yeah, that brings a good point that's happened to me as well. I mean, what's been amazing for me is it's actually led me to work on some physical media releases, because I do video production, film production as a job, mainly editing. And through, well, I guess it started off kind of through working with Blueprint, and I met Jasper Sharp. We brought him on to do a talk at a festival we did, but also I think a lot of it is through Blueprint Review and through kind of me plugging it online is through that I've ended up shooting quite a few interviews for kind of special features. I've edited a few now as well. And I actually got involved with quite a few Radiance releases. I don't know if he called it producing, but I kind of semi-produced one of the discs. It was one that was already kind of done. It was one of the re-releases of the Raro video releases, but they still changed a lot of things, and so there's still a lot of work involved. And I did work on one of those. So that's been an amazing thing for me. I have to thank Jasper Sharp, Sarah Appleton, and Francesco Simeone for those opportunities, because that's led to some amazing stuff. And I've still got some discs on the way that are coming out soon with my name on them. So
oh, that's great.
That's been really exciting.
You're in the booklet for the what's the Polish filmmaker called? I'm completely blanking on the name, but you're in the booklet for like QC, right?
The End of Civilization trilogy.
End of Civilization. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I did some quality control on that one. Yeah. I don't always get my name in there, but I think in some of the larger booklet ones I usually do.
Yeah, and you've covered I think you had mentioned, like, was it Severin, or like one of the like boutique labels in America? You like did a video for them, but you ended up buying the disc yourself a little later.
Oh yeah, I've done that before once or twice. Yeah, I don't always get contributor copies, so sometimes I have to just fork out and buy them myself. But yeah, that was the Peter Greenaway film that they did. I can't remember now. I've worked on a few now, but yeah, I had to buy that one. That's all good. But I've got some coming up. As I say, I worked on Radiance's Ashima's box set, which is coming out soon. Ooh. We did one interview on there, so only a small part of a massive box set, but still it's cool.
I mean, it still contributed.
Yeah, and also Imprint's forthcoming 24/7 disc. I did one of the interviews on that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just shot that one. That was really fun, actually. It was in Nottingham as well, so I didn't have to go too far. So yeah, cool. And Justin, how about your history with the site? I'm trying to remember when you first started. You've been there.
I was one of the first ones. You, Damien, who used to work at Blueprint, and then I think I was the third because of my login. I think I was definitely one of the first guys in the door, as it were, because me and you were training together, weren't we, in Grimsby? And then we kept in touch, doing video weekends and stuff. It should be noted that the Trash Weekends didn't just start at Trash Weekend #1. We did quite a lot before then.
Yeah. I might get to those again later, but we.
So I've been doing reviews for quite a long time. As I said, I've done over 500. plus other bits and pieces, interviews and stuff. So yeah, I've done quite a lot. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we, over the years? And
Certainly have.
we've had some good feedback, really, haven't we? Because you said you bumped into someone and they said they really rate our coverage of extras in particular.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we're obviously doing something right, because we people tend to go to us for shall we say, professional advice on extras that materialize on Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff. So it's good.
I think I'm just looking at. Sorry, just jumping in there. I finally looked at my name to see how many posts I've got, and it says I've got 1,591 posts on Blueprint
That
Review.
sounds about right.
As I say, some of those will be more some polls and things like that, but I think most of them will be reviews.
You need to set the time away to make like a letterbox list of everything you've ever logged and see how much everything you've ever reviewed. Sorry, and see how much it is. Because I do that on Letterboxd, and I include the link in the little notes. So then if somebody wants to read my review, it's just embedded there. Because I'm curious to see how much you wrote. Because again, 15 years. It's a long time, so I imagine.
Yeah. I'm always astounded how much Dave manages to cram in around his family life.
Oh, I'm basically, my evenings are just me really. I'm terrible at doing. We do a lot together in the weekends and when the kids are up and stuff, but in the evenings I'm usually like watching something, reviewing something, and just a bit too busy. I could do with a break sometimes. I keep saying, I think every New Year's Eve, I'm like, one of my resolutions. Yeah, one of my resolutions is almost always, I'll review a bit less this year. It's like, I'll never stop because I love doing it. I want to keep the site going, but I keep thinking, just less. But I just can't say no. The problem is we've got so many amazing labels, like pretty much all the top the UK labels. Send us stuff, and there's just so much good stuff coming out. My problem is that I'd like such a range of films as well. I'll give everything a shot. So it's hard to say no.
I feel like there's specific labels where you almost know who's going to go for them. So like if Eureka's releasing something, I know you're probably gonna go for it like 9 times out of 10. And I feel like I'm the resident like second sight guy.
Sometimes I think I'll just email Leon. No, I should probably put it to others. Yeah.
But I did want to say as well with what Justin mentioned before about somebody saying that we kind of specialize in the extras for our reviews. That's one thing I feel like I spend most of my time with extras on releases. I don't know if you two both feel the same way, just because I feel like nowadays in particular these releases are going so like above and beyond with like if you looked at a Blu-ray from 10 years ago you'd be lucky to get like an interview or two here, maybe a commentary, but nowadays it's like here's a 3-hour-long documentary, here's 10 short films from the filmmaker, 3 audio commentaries, like it will come up later in this thing in a couple of my lists, I'm sure, but the second sight release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is unbelievable for that. Like I think it has 5 audio commentaries, 4 making of or like feature length documentaries, and so much more. So no, I feel like I spend most of my time nowadays with the extras, but I'm not complaining because they're usually great.
As I say, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I don't know how I'd survive without being able to take the extras off. As I say, I live by taking the extras off the discs. So I would not have time to sit and watch everything at home on the TV. So I rip all the extras off and I just listen to them. Sometimes I have to watch them. That's I must admit, my bugbear for me is foreign language extras. I'm like, oh damn it, because I can't listen to them. I've got to watch them. So it's really frustrating when they're foreign language ones. And but yeah, usually I'll put a commentary on. I'll listen to it in the car or at the gym or when I'm making dinner or breakfast or something. I'll have it on and make a few notes. So that I absolutely swear by that. Without that, I would never cover all the extras. I would just have to skip some. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, but anyway, I think we should probably start getting onto our lists. I'm sure our lists will move into different territories and things, but let's go for that. I'll kick things off. Why not? I'll kick things off with my lists. I am going to start with one, and this is one I suggested, so some of you might have also done this. and this is the review I'm most proud of, or that I put the most effort into. And I'm going to start with an honourable mention before I put my favourite. My honourable mention is Short Scope Volume 1. That was a big box set. There's a lot of films, a lot of extras, and my review of that is mammoth. So that I did put a lot of work in. But I think for me, the one looking back at it, in terms of the length of the reviews of the films and the detail I put into the extras and things, and the amount of time I put into it, I think it's got to be the Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest set by Arrow.
It's an amazing review.
My review's so long for that and epic, and I really went to town with it. I think I wrote it whilst I was working, whilst I was at Bowls, and I spent the entire day writing it whilst doing my job, which is a bit crazy. That job's ended now, so I can say it without getting in trouble. But yeah, so that's probably the one I'm most proud of that I put the most work in. Has anyone else got a similar kind of category to that, or?
Well, I guess I'm gonna like change the name of one because I did do the longest reviews, and I feel like they're the ones I tend to be the most proud of anyway. So I'll just list the 5. I actually went through earlier the site. I was like, what are my longest reviews out of curiosity? They're all collection ones, surprisingly. But in order from like 5 to 1, I guess. 5 was the Ginger Snaps trilogy because they had such an incredible range of bonus features. It's only 3 films, but like the amount of extras were just unbelievable. That was a second site release. Number 4 was the Hellraiser Quartet of Torture, which is the first 4 films in 4K. And kind of like I was speaking about earlier with the Texas Chainsaw release, that is just, there are so many like feature-length documentaries included in that and everything. And I think that was about 5,000-6,000 words, which isn't too bad for 4 films. In third place, the Psycho collection, again, just like one of Arrow's best sets. Like, even though I'm not huge on the 4th film, I'm not really a big fan of that one, it still looks amazing, and they present it in 2 different aspect ratios, and the new and the archival extras are just great. The second is the Chucky collection, the Child's Play films. I think that's 7 films plus a documentary, and then a few of them have like making of feature length documentaries included too. So that was a real undertaking, but I had a great time with that. And the one I'm the most proud of, I would say, just because of how much I wrote, I think this is like my Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest. It is the Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe release.
Oh yes, I remember that one.
Oh my god, that was such an undertaking. I think it's 8 or 9, it might even be 10 films. And again, there's probably about 3 or 4 feature-length documentaries. There's like podcasts and interviews that go on for about an hour and a half individually. There's audio commentaries on probably half of the films included. And it was, I checked the word count. I think it's just a bit over 10,000 words.
Wow.
And I was very, very, very proud of that.
That's like a thesis, isn't it?
I was just about to say that. It's like it quite often happens when I write like a box set review, and I think you get students at uni like complaining, "Oh, I've got to write like a 10,000 word essay." It's like, I do it all the time. it's for fun.
I'm doing it for fun as well. Like we're all doing it for fun. And I guess the last one I will throw out there, I mean, that was my number 1, but if I was talking about the review that I think if somebody was like, oh yeah, what do you write? What do you write for? The one that I would probably go to is my Texas Chainsaw Massacre review. And the main reason is because I only found this out recently, and I don't know if it's still on there, but you know AIM Publicity, who send us all of the discs and everything, they actually included my Texas Chainsaw Massacre review on their website as a highlight for like some of the reviews, and I was like, yes, this is so cool. So that's always been like one of my proudest accomplishments writing for the site, because I'm like, the company that's sending out these releases thinks that review's so good that they wanted to highlight on the site.
I was going to say one thing that I don't think I've managed to do it, but I think Justin, if I remember correctly, I think you managed to get this once, but is to get an actual tagline on a poster or on a DVD. You got that one, didn't you?
I saw Hybrid at Cannes.
Yeah,
and I was one of the first people to write a review on the film, and they. And my review wasn't particularly good, I have to say. I just took out a quote saying something like entertaining or something and stuck it on
found some positive word.
Entertaining monster movie. I kind of I begrudgingly said, "Oh yeah, it's an okay, entertaining monster movie." It's my almost like last line of a review, and they slapped back on the DVD. No
That's
one else
great.
said anything good about it. Yes, but I do have a copy of that DVD because I think it was like a region 1. But yeah, that was because I thought you had a quote though, Dave, didn't you?
I don't know. I don't think so. I might be right. I know somebody else. I think somebody else has. I can't remember who. But
maybe it was Andrew Skeets.
Yeah, maybe it was Andrew. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. But,
I remember that. I shouldn't say the film, but I covered a film I think last year for the site. I wasn't a fan of it. It was an early screener, and I think you sent me an email saying that the company was looking for good like log lines, and I was like, oh, I didn't like the film. I'm not gonna say anything, but I almost would have made it onto a poster if I liked the film a little bit more. I think I don't know. Like I think I tried to be nice in my review, but looking back on it, I don't think there's anything they would have wanted to slap on a poster for that one.
It's difficult sometimes because we review films for people. It's like I'll never be dishonest and say I liked something when I didn't.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because you sometimes got to be nice about it. We've had once or twice we have had complaints from labels saying that it was a bit too harsh. And
one of them,
I think Justin, one of yours is yours,
yeah.
Justin. Yeah.
Well, I got into serious trouble, didn't I? Remember, I did a review of The Eagle Path, which was one of our most read reviews because I was one of the few people to see the Jean-Claude Van Damme film he directed, and it was screening in Cannes, and then it sort of disappeared. And I wasn't overly kind, shall we say, but I'm a big fan of Jean-Claude, but I kind of told it as it was, but it wasn't a great film, and apparently I lost a friend there because according to Ross, he wasn't very happy with my review.
Oh really?
I think there have been a handful of times where I've covered films in sets that if they're films that are like 30, 40 years old most of the time and generally don't have a good reputation. So like one I can think of is Hellraiser 4. Like nobody really is going to go to bat for Hellraiser 4. So I think my review for that was a bit more on the negative side, but like most of the time I will try to be nice as I can to a film, even if I wasn't huge on it. Like I think at the end of the day people have put a film out there, so the least you can do is just review it with like as much decency as possible. Really,
I think the issue I get sometimes is I feel like I give so many positive reviews, but I think it's I sometimes feel like people think, oh, he just loves everything. But I think the problem is I do cherry pick what I review. So I pick films that I'm probably gonna like. So I do get disappointed, but usually I can, if I still see something good in it, I'll still give it like 3 stars or something. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It just wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. So it's rare that I really dig into something because I don't tend to review films that are likely going to. I
think early on when we were not getting as many.
Early on, definitely.
When we were getting things. What was the distributor who went out?
Oh yeah, well, I was going to mention actually because that's another thing. I'll quickly get that out there now as well. Is I really want to thank the distributors and the PR companies because we have a lot of them on board who, as I say, send us discs by the bucket load, and I've got to thank them for all their support and all the beautiful discs that have sent us. But what I think I'm pretty certain the very first label we ever got on board was Metrodome.
Yes, that's
who don't exist anymore now. But Metrodome, I've definitely got to thank them they put me on that line for reviewing discs, really. But yeah, as Justin mentioned, their hit rate was a bit.
Some of their films were not good.
No, not good at all. So yeah.
Which is why I came up with a category of worst films I reviewed, but that was
nice.
later. So,
did you have any? Yeah, I was going to say, did you have anything for this category?
Well, you said what we're most proud of. I guess I'm most proud of some of the interviews I did because I did the Sean Hudson interview, you know, the horror author.
Yeah.
At the Dead by Dawn Film Festival, and then I said I asked you later on after I spent ages typing it up. If you'd like to use it, and you said yeah, and then I had some really nice feedback from the Sean Hudson official website because the guy who runs it, he sort of obviously scans the internet to see what else is being published about Sean, and he asked if he could link to the interview on Blueprint Review that I'd done, because he said it was the best interview he'd ever read about Sean Hudson, and that's coming from the Sean Hudson website. So I was quite proud of that. And so interviews in general, I did one with Blair Erickson for the Banshee chapter, which was a found footage film from a number of years ago. I did one with Zim Benfigul, who's a producer for that crazy German film Sky Sharks, which had a great poster, but apparently the film wasn't anything like the poster. And then, of course, I did one with Uwe Boll, which, as you know, I had as a special guest at one of my film festivals. Did you go to that one, Dave?
I did. I had looked. Yeah, I remember having dinner. I'm always very proud of having dinner with Uwe Boll, and he's a fascinating character. I loved him to bits. He's an odd character. He's very, because people slag him off in his films and things like that, but he really had a passion for films and for making films. I guess maybe even if his hit rate can be a bit on the low side.
Well, with his filmography, if you look at it, the ones which he did usually of video game adaptations, they weren't very good. House of the Dead and stuff like that, pretty rubbish. But then the ones he did just for him on things he was interested in, like Stoic, Tunnel Rats, which is a Vietnam film, Rampage, which was about the guy who goes around shooting people.
He showed that at the festival. That was one thing I was going to mention.
Those were actually pretty good films. So I think his kind of like more indie films are actually quite good. The big studio ones are tend to be quite bad.
Yeah,
and those are the ones people have seen, unfortunately, not his independent ones.
I'm going to admit something now, and it's funny. I've never admitted this before, but I'm going to do it now. There was an interview opportunity with Uwe Boll a couple of months ago. I think you sent it round. I was too scared to put my name forward because I was like, if I don't like his film, he might get angry at me. He seems really nice.
Didn't he have a boxing match with someone else?
He boxed his critics and everything. So I was like, I don't want to put myself into a position where he will want to punch me if I don't like his film.
He's actually, if you get, he's actually a really nice guy. To be fair, he's a bit out there, but I liked him. I got on with him.
Yeah, no, he seems fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen one of his films, but I want to eventually. I want to like dive into some of the more like indie ones, like Justin was mentioning. I have heard Rampage is pretty good. I think he made a few of those, didn't he?
Yes, he did. There's about 4 now.
Oh, 4. Okay. Yeah, no, I really want to check out some of his stuff. That stuff preferably over the video game adaptations.
Yeah, definitely would recommend avoiding the video game adaptations.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your next category then, Dave?
Next category, sorry, this is gonna be a long one tonight. Okay, this next one is I've done my favorite discovery through reviews, through being sent to screeners, because I quite often, I very often actually, it's blind watches for me. I like to kind of discover new movies, and there have been a ton of films that I've loved that I've first kind of what I've done is I've picked films that I didn't really know anything about. I just kind of decided to review it off the cuff. I just maybe looked online and saw some good reviews and thought, oh, I'll give that a punt. I'll run through the honorable mentions, but there's Cria Cuervos, Elso, Original Cast Album Company, The Dead Mother, The Reckoning, and The Big Clock. Those are 6 films that just really stood out for me, and I gave them one of my rare 5 stars. I give a lot of like 4s and 4.5. As I say, I'm very positive using my reviews, but it's rare that I give a first-time watch 5 stars. I think I need a bit of nostalgia sometimes to give something 5. But those really just hit me. But my favorite has got to be The Fabulous Baron Munchausen, or Baron Prazil, and that's not the it's not the Terry Gilliam one. It's by a filmmaker called Carol Zeman, and Second Run put that disc out, and I absolutely fell in love with that film. It's incredible. It's bonkers. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, and it's just blew me away when I watched it. And also on the disc, I had a documentary about the director showing more of his films, and it just made me like eager to see more. And Second Run have released a couple more, so I've managed to see a few of his films now. But yeah, that first one, Fabulous Baron Munchausen, it absolutely floored me. So that's definitely my biggest discovery through screeners. Has anyone else kind of looked at that category, or was that a bit of a wild card one that I threw in there?
I've got a few because I was just looking at my letterbox list for what I've covered, and although I didn't have this down as a category, I'm looking through the list of like 5-star films I've given, and I can just list a few off right now. So I have to mention 964 Pinocchio. I covered that earlier this year through the 88 films Japaniki label,
Yeah.
that new sub-label they've got going on. One of the most bonkers motion pictures I have ever experienced in my life. It makes Tetsuo the Iron Man look like pretty normal and grounded. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a surreal visual experience. Just one for the ages. I cannot recommend that enough. I don't know if it will be for everyone, but it's unique. There's nothing else I've ever seen quite like it. Watership Down, which I watched for the first time through the VFI 4K, and I was just blown away by that. I was actually annoyed at myself that I hadn't seen it sooner, because I was like, how have I not got around to seeing this already? Watership Down was an amazing first time watch. What else? The Conversation, Francis Ford Coppola movie. Again, another one that I wanted to see so many times throughout the years, and then as soon as the 4K hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out, and I absolutely loved it.
Are there many that you'd never heard of, though, that were just kind of real proper blind watches, or do you not tend to do that? Do you tend to go for stuff that you already had your eye on?
It's a mix most of the time. It's stuff that I'm aware of that I haven't seen, but sometimes I'll do some, like, for some more obscure ones. I have to shout out May from Lucky McKee. That was a second sight release from 2 years ago, I want to say. I found that amazing. That's one that I've shown to like 4 or 5 different people, or recommended it now. That's a great little kind of black comedy that I had no idea about I had no idea about that one until then. And then I also want to give a quick shout out to The Untold Story, which again is not going to be for everybody. One of the nastier movies I think I've ever seen in my life, but I mean, it's a category 3 Herman Yao film. It's to be expected. But no, I was just absolutely blown away by that one. I found it like stomach churning, and I mean that as a compliment. I found that one great. And then finally, I'll do one more. Peeping Tom, Michael Powell movie. Nice. I think that was one I covered last year for the new 4K release from Studio Canal. And I'm gonna be real, I think I might like Peeping Tom just a little bit more than Psycho, because they're both like 1960 kind of
proto slashers, those things.
Yeah, proto slashers, and just kind of like boundary pushing. Like, and we also wasn't Eyes Without a Face also 1960 as well? Because that was just like a year for horror.
Yeah, possibly. Was that earlier? I think that might be slightly earlier. I might be wrong though, but
it might have been 59. I might be
wrong. 59 or 60.
Yeah, because I know it was just around that year, around that like 2-year period. There were so many like just kind of like boundary pushing horror films, like late 50s, early 60s, and I always find that era really interesting. But yeah, Justin, do you have any? Sorry for yapping so long.
Yeah, I'll go with so some nice surprises for me of films I hadn't heard of before were The Aggression Scale, which was quite unusual. Escape, which was basically like a Viking film about some woman who is on the run from some marauders. There's hardly any dialogue, but it's such a really cool foot chase film that I really enjoyed from 2012. There's H1, which is a film about a downed Israeli pilot down in Palestine who makes friends with a Palestinian boy who helps him try to get to the Israeli border, which is really quite an interesting film. There was A Big Bad Wolves, which you probably have seen, which is about paedophile hunters. That was quite a good surprise. No One Lives, which was a really nasty but quite clever sort of slasher film. It Follows, which of course I discovered when I reviewed it, which it's become one of my favorite horror films. Link, which is a film about an orangutan, which is being sort of, shall we say, had some sort of experiments done on it, and it sort of goes a bit loopy and then sort of turns on its owner / sort of veterinary experimenter. but that's a very, very cleverly made film with no CGI and stuff. It was, made before that sort of technology became available. I think it's got Terence Young. But there was a documentary called The Truffle Hunters, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, I've seen that. It's good, yeah.
Considering it's very quietly paced, and it's not a lot happens apart from old guys hunting truffles in the woods. But I just found it very absorbing.
Yeah, and there's quite a strange kind of dark drama going there. They're like trying to kill some of the other one's dogs so they can get the truffles.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that film a lot.
A couple of us, Double Date, which was a British horror comedy that I really enjoyed a lot more than I expected, and Lords of Chaos, which was a dramatization of the black metal scene. The murder, the quite famous murder.
The mayhem. It was Mayhem, right?
Mayhem. Yeah.
I forget the other band associated, but no, Lords of Chaos is really fascinating because I watched that film completely unaware of like the events that transpired, and I know the metal community is very torn on whether or not they like that film because of it. Like they say it has inaccuracies, but when you actually read the events, I think they did a pretty good job of like retelling.
Yeah, I do.
The bonkers story. Like, are you familiar with Mayhem, David? And just like a lot of you should watch Lords of Chaos. It's quite an experience, and then you'll read about the artists involved, and you're like, wait, they actually did that. That's a great shout out.
Well, I'm going to group my next two categories together because they're kind of pretty similar. And I was just going to look at my favorite releases that I have reviewed for the site. I broke it. I did a single title and box set, so I'm just going to combine. I'll run through some honorable mentions. So just honorable mentions for single title is Over the Edge by Arrow. That's so loaded with extras. It's great. The Hitcher, Second Sight, amazing. The recent Seven Samurai re-release by the BFI is really impressive. It's a big upgrade from the last one. And Apocalypse Now Final Cut from Studio Canal. There's so much on there. It's amazing. But number one for me, it's got to be, for the single title, is Dawn of the Dead, Second Sight, which is crazy. Yeah. There's so much stuff on there. And I'm going to quickly whiz through my favorite box sets. I love Indicator's Noir range, so I'm going to group all them together. Also, Arrow's Shore Scope series, although I've only actually reviewed one of them because it's so big, I've put off doing the other ones. But yeah, Shore Scope. And I've already mentioned Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest. Again, fantastic box set. But number one, this is going to be a controversial choice. And it's more just how it affected me. And this is... I've put as my favorite box set as the Wakaliwood Super Action Volume 1 from 101 Films NAGFA, just because it was such a discovery for me. These crazy films made in is it Uganda? I think it's made in, but for nothing, by people living in literally like kind of living in the slums, cobbling together the cameras and equipment they can do. They have so many power outages, they kept losing films all the time because the computer would just crash and kill everything. And just the thing is that what's special about this set is the special features really help you appreciate what they're all about. Because if you just watch the films, you think, oh my God, these are terrible. They're kind of fun, but they're kind of terrible. But actually, when you read where they came from, and you really appreciate what went into these films. And it's one of the rare occasions where I've watched the special features and been genuinely moved by it, just the passion and kind of, as I say, nothing else has kind of impacted me in the same way. And plus there's a load of special features. There's lots of stuff on there, which is great. But as I say, these are genuinely kind of impactful and fascinating extras that bring so much more to the film. Whereas a lot of the times you get films, you kind of know something about the film already, and it's just you're hearing some interviews and it's interesting or whatever. But this was just something else. So I had to highlight that, even if they're not the best films in the world, but they are fun. They're really, if you like low budget or zero budget action movies made by people in Uganda, then they're so much fun. They're bonkers, but they're so much fun.
So Captain Alex is amazing. Like I just love that film. Like I need to see. What's the other film included? Is it
Is
Bad
it
Black?
Bad Black, I think.
Yeah, I need to get around to watching that one still, but I love Who Killed Captain Alex.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I was
awesome.
so happy when I heard that it was getting the Blu-ray treatment over here because they uploaded it to free on YouTube, like the Look Hollywood YouTube channel. So that's how I discovered it through what. And I also a YouTuber I like called I Hate Everything covered it for his series The Search for the Worst, and I think that episode is included on the Blu-ray as an extra.
It's on the Blu-ray.
And
There's loads of good stuff on there.
yeah, it's such a packed release. But no, Who Killed Captain Alex? That is a fine number one.
And Leon, what about you? What are some of you? Have you listed some of your favorites that you've covered?
So I was looking for just like releases in general, the ones that have kind of wowed me the most. And thankfully, I have ended up enjoying most of these titles too. But just in terms of the ones that have wowed me the most, either through the presentation or just the amount of extras and supplemental content. In fifth place, I've got to say Death Game, the Radiance Grindhouse release from kind of the past year or so. I'd never seen Death Game before, but I had seen Knock Knock, the Eli Roth movie, which is basically a remake of it, but I never knew it was initially a remake. But then I checked this out and I was like, wait, this seems really familiar. Watch the interviews, Eli Roth's there talking about it. He does a commentary on the release, but it's also, the release itself also comes with a second film, which I'm completely blanking on the name right now, with some of the same like crew that were associated with it, I believe. And then there's a second disc with like 7 hours of interviews or something absolutely bonkers. So I have to give that one a shout out. In fourth place, Cruising, the William Friedkin movie. Arrow's recent 4K releases, unbelievable. Like I bought their Blu-ray that they released in, I want to say like 2018, 2019, and that was, I don't know if you're familiar with how hands-on Friedkin was with his home media releases, but he was very particular about what releases were out there in the wild, and some releases have been delayed or even cancelled, particularly with Kino Lorber, because he wasn't happy with what they were doing. And with the initial Blu-ray for Cruising from Arrow, it was a kind of like a, I don't want to say like a George Lucas style re-edit of the movie, but there were changes. So like there's like different title cards, and like some sequences that were in color are now in black and white, and the outro's a little bit different. So when Arrow got to releasing the film on 4K, they kind of released it in its original theatrical form, which I don't think Friedkin would have done if he was still here. And as somebody who'd never seen the original theatrical version, I was just blown away by some of the subtle changes that kind of make the film even stronger. And there is such a huge, huge range of bonus features, most of which were produced in 2018, 2019, around the time of that initial Arrow release. So this is just me theorizing, but maybe he just didn't want to approve those back then, and then they waited for the 4K release. But I was blown away by that. It's also just an incredible looking 4K release. I ended up picking up the retail copy after, because I was so impressed by that. In third place, I've got to say the Blair Witch Project Second Sight release. That was just unbelievable, because that's another film that's had quite a tumultuous like home media relationship. They shot that film on like high definition, like standard definition cameras from around that era, and originally the film was supposed to be projected at 60 frames a second, because obviously video from that time didn't really like capture 24 frames a second. But when Lionsgate purchased the film, they changed the aspect ratio and the whole look of the film, and it wasn't until the Second Sight release that we got to see the director's and the filmmaker's original intended version. And I think it comes with like 3 different versions. You get the old release that was included on all of the home media, like Blu-ray, DVD releases, the new restoration, and then like a festival cut. And then there's tons of archival extras. There's like a fictional mockumentary also included that I think it's like an hour long. There's a feature-length documentary that's 2.5 hours long. There's audio content. It's just like such an unbelievable release. I'm kicking myself for not pre-ordering the limited edition, because that one goes for crazy money now. But I have the screeners, so I'm content. Second place, I mentioned it before, but the Coffin Joe Arrow video set, that was just such an incredible find. I think I enjoyed the majority of the films. There were a few I thought were a bit so-so, but the really good ones in that set are just unbelievable. And I just found myself like diving into a world that I wasn't really familiar with anyway. And I love when a box set can kind of help me like branch out and like discover new like filmmakers from different countries and everything. And then in first place, I've got to say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's one of the greatest films ever made. So being able to like gush about it was just like delightful in and of itself. But I just found that release to be so incredible. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has had like hundreds of different releases over the years from all these different labels, all like everywhere in the, like across the world. But I think Second Sight's release is the definitive one. I don't think we're ever going to get a release that tops the amount of content that's included there, how great it looks considering it was shot on 16mm, how great it sounds as well, because there's the original audio. I think there's a Dolby Atmos mix on there as well. It's probably like as close to perfect of a release I've ever covered for the site. If I was writing for the site a few years before, I probably would have said Dawn of the Dead as well if I ended up covering that. Because again, I think Second Sight are just like in a league of their own when it comes to their releases. They take so much care with just the film transfers and restorations, but also the supplemental content. It's just unbelievable. I yapped a lot there, but no,
It's all right.
It's been covering for Blueprint has been so delightful because I have an excuse to actually check out all of this content, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but sometimes I feel like when I pick up a Blu-ray, I'm like, I'll get around to the interviews eventually.
Yeah.
But I feel like having that, like, oh yeah, no, I need to cover these for the site. It kind of makes me branch out and just appreciate some of these films. Even if I don't like a film, I end up kind of appreciating it a bit more through the bonus features.
Yeah, definitely. I must admit, I've occasionally nudged up a rating like half a star so after watching extras because it makes you kind of appreciate it sometimes. Yeah, and as I say, it forces you to watch because sometimes I'll go for films that I've heard are really good, but they might be a bit challenging, they might be a bit long or something like that. So if I just had it in my collection to watch, I probably wouldn't ever watch it. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's supposed to be good, I want to see that, but not tonight, I'll stick on a martial arts movie or something. So this forces me to watch some of those maybe perhaps more challenging films or less trashy films, because if it's just up to me to watch whatever I want, I usually go down the trashy route just because it's comfort viewing. But
it's the best.
So I do find it helps me watch a bit more of a range. But yeah, Justin, how about you? What are some of your favorite releases that you've covered?
Well, I guess best one-offs, as in just one film. I really appreciate being able to review Night of a Demon, from the 1950s, which is one of my favorite films. Because obviously in that box, in that set, there was the American release Curse of a Demon. And there was lots of interesting extras and stuff like that. So that was a good release. I can't remember who put it out now, actually.
I think it was
Indicator. Yeah, Indicator.
Yeah,
possibly Indicator. Another of my favorites was Don't Go in My House, one of the ex-video nasties, where poor women have sort of fried in the guy's personal incinerator in his basement. But there were so many extras on that one. It was like 3 discs. They went into so much detail, but it was it was really interesting. And also another ex-nasty was Absurd, the sort of weird follow-up to the Anthropomagus Beast. Not a very good film, but the extras sort of really impressive. Sorry, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat.
No worries.
And recently I reviewed Return of the Living Dead, which was an excellent box set, and that included like a 2-hour feature-length documentary about the film and making the film. So they really covered their bases there. So those are probably the highlights of just single releases. Without getting into the box sets. I mean, are we talking about box sets now?
I've mentioned some box sets.
Okay, box sets. Yeah, I've just got a few I was going to mention. So Powerhouse have been doing these Hammer volumes. So I covered volume 2 and 3, and like we were saying, discovering new films we didn't know much about. And with volume 2, you had things like The Snorkel, Full Treatment. Cash on Demand and Never Take Sweets from a Stranger.
I was going to say, yeah, I've seen a couple of those. Never Take Sweets from a Stranger and The Snorkel. I've seen those two. They're fantastic. Yeah.
They are very good. And Volume 3, again, you had some good ones. Camp on Blood Island, a war film, Yesterday's Enemy, Stranglers of Bombay, Terror of the Tongs. And they're all sort of lower, less well-known Hammer films, but still really interesting, still pretty good. So I was really appreciative of being able to review those. And then I did a box set called The Films of Jose Larraz, who was a Spanish film director who did quite a lot of British horror films, including one of my favorites, Vampires, which is featuring a couple of scantily clad female vampires who spent most of the time with various men. And Whirlpool and The Coming of Sin. They're really quite an interesting box set. Makes me kind of want to discover more about Jose Larraz. And then I did the William Greff collection. He was quite an interesting guy who kind of basically made loads of films around the Florida Everglades, and I thought that was a great collection from Arrow. And then more recently, I did Bloody Legend: The Complete Works of Cliff Tremolo, which was a Severin box set, which is a really interesting set. And there's like about 10 films in that. Admittedly, most of the films aren't great, but like you said, because you watch all the extras and all the other bits and pieces, it makes you appreciate what the guy was trying to do. And documentary that was released to coincide with that is a great documentary, really interesting, particularly if you're into films, and that kind of gives a great background to Cliff Tremolo and his life and his kind of attempt at turning Manchester into the Hollywood of the North. And you can judge whether he was successful or not yourselves, but very, very interesting. Yeah, you bought that, didn't you?
I did buy that. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to dig into it yet. It's added to my crazily expanding pile of unwatched movies.
But yeah,
I really want to check that out at some point, but particularly the documentary, because I've heard that's just a fantastic watch.
Yeah, it is. It is great. Yeah. Cool. Over to you again, Dave.
Yeah, well, next I was going to just kind of talk about my favorite kind of features that we do on the site. Honorable mentions, and actually going to tie in something that I was going to have as a separate category, but I'm going to put it in here, is one of my favorite features is not one that I wrote, but I do love Andy's epic lists and marathons. He's done loads of them now. But I think my favorite of his is, or at least the one that I go back to, I keep rereading it to get recommendations of films to track down, is his 100 non-Disney, non-Pixar, non-Ghibli animated features. So it's all less well-known kind of animated films, and he's kind of top 100 of that, and that's a great read. And then in terms of kind of features that I've set up or been involved with, I loved my Gates of Video Hell. I need to bring that back. I'd never wrote enough of them, but I like the idea. That's a fun one. I don't know if Leon, have you seen any of those? Because
I don't know if I have actually.
It's where the idea between that was to I like to, like Justin, I like to pick up VHS tapes sometimes but I particularly kind of always try to track down VHS tapes of films that have not made the transfer to DVD or Blu-ray in the UK. I quite often find sometimes they are out in the US, but I've kind of ignored that. And the idea is to review tapes that never made it to another format in the UK, and review them, but rather than giving them a star rating, I kind of judge them in terms of, do they deserve to be upgraded to Blu-ray? Do they deserve to maybe go to streaming, or do they deserve to stay dead? And that was the idea of it. It was a fun feature. I should bring that back, but I'm always so busy doing other stuff. But I should crack out some tapes. I'm sure I've got some lying in there that are still worthy. Another feature I did, which I should bring back, speaking of is cracking the collection. And the idea with cracking collection was to go through the unwatched films in my DVD collection and just watch them and just kind of give brief thoughts just to kind of keep the content running. But again, it's just time.
Did you say brief, Dave?
Okay, maybe not brief.
A brief
well, the cracking the collection ones were a little bit briefer than usual, but yeah. But then but my favorite feature, regular feature, has got to be, and I'm sure Justin will join me in my love of these, is the Weekends of Trash, which, for anyone who's unaware of them, it's basically, as Justin mentioned it earlier, is kind of me, Justin, and Andrew, and well, other people have joined us, like Bill started to join us more recently, is we would get together over a weekend, or it started out probably just one evening, I think, when we first met, and we would just watch trashy movies, basically as many trashy movies as we could, and with a few beverages and stuff like that, and just have a lot of fun with it. And then after a while, I'd say we used to just do it anyway for fun. But then after a while, I did start posting kind of epic write-ups, like doing little kind of capsule reviews of everything we saw, and that actually first started on Dave's UK Film Reviews before Blueprint existed, and I think I've got 2 or 3 on there. But then I carried that over when we started writing for Blueprint, and we just do it regularly. I mean, we live quite far apart with each other nowadays, but we still maybe we try to kind of aim for two times a year sort of thing, to get together and get loads and loads of movies watched. I bring the projector and a screen, and yeah, we plow through loads of VHS tapes, DVDs, whatever we can find, and it's so much fun to watch them, and it's so much fun to write about them. Justin, have you got any particular memories you want to talk about for the Weekends of Trash?
Well, yeah, just quick rewind. You said about the Gates of Hell. I thought that was a really good feature as well, because I did a few of those. Because I did,
Andrew did too.
Yeah, Andrew did. Yeah, and I think it's a really good idea, and I think you could almost write a book about that, can't you? Yeah, because I did Escape from Cell Block 3. I did Clockwork Terror, which is also known as Murder in a Blue World, and The Photographer, which is, I'm surprised it's not better known, The Photographer, actually, because it's quite a good sort of psycho thriller. Yeah, I thought it was just a really good idea, that one. And
there's so many films that slip through the cracks, and people don't often realize that. And it annoys me sometimes. You see, I mean, they're quite often good films, but you'll see the same films being re-released again on different formats. It's like, yeah, but it's already got a good release. Why don't you dig deeper and find something? I guess sometimes the rights have just gone, and it's a nightmare to get them.
Yeah.
But I do love kind of digging in and trying to see what has fallen.
But Weekend of Trash, yeah, because we started when we were training together in Grimsby.
Yeah,
you, me, Andrew, Skeets. We were kind of getting together pretty much once a week when we would go around to each other's houses or lodges and watching stuff. And then when we sort of moved apart, because I had a house all to myself, I used to invite you guys down. And remember Ross Boyask, the film director? Yeah, he came down, and Chris, the writer, screenwriter. So there was about 5 of us in my lounge watching trashy movies for a whole weekend. And with Ross, I mean, he didn't want to stop watching. No. He was quite happy to carry on at 3 a.m. So so we probably watched about 15 films the weekends he stayed. And then, of course, like you say, sort of toned down a little bit. And we carried on meeting up 2 or 3 times a year, and we've been doing it ever since, haven't we? So I think it's great. And I think what I was thinking is it'd be quite good if we could kind of maybe once a year try to hire somewhere like 21st Century Flicks in Bristol, and sort of where you can hire a mini cinema and invite a few more people, maybe contributors to Blueprint, and get together for maybe
bigger
not a
scale sort of one.
Bigger scale one. But
that sounds awesome.
I think there are certain things we could do more of for the site.
I get stuck in my habits really these days. I say it would be good to spend more time with some of the features and things. I kind of let Andy do a lot of the features these days. And as I say, the Weekend is Trash as well. Sorry, just a bit of a tangent, but just came to me early as well. I can remember those early Weekends of Trash were quite powerful for me, because I was never a big horror film fan. I'm still not a massive horror guy. But you guys seem to have a mission to kind of show me some of the most disturbing films possible to warp my mind and open it up to some kind of messed up films. The big one for me that had the biggest impact was what was it called?
Roadkill.
Roadkill, yeah. Which is it's quite short, isn't it? Is it like 40
it's
minutes?
Short, it's about half an hour.
Yeah, it's about half an hour, but it's so messed up. And that was just I can remember that, just squirming through that. And you're like, come on, Dave, we'll stick another one on. It's like, oh god.
Jim Van Bieber is the he did
is that Deadbeat by Dawn?
Yeah. I wonder, is Roadkill on that disc? I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I think they put it on as an extra.
I've got the release over here. Let me check.
It's probably not as bad as I remember when I think it probably is. But yeah, I just,
Charlie's Family was his next kind of feature, which I think he took him about
It
5 years.
is. It is. It's only 15 minutes long.
15. It felt like more. It disturbed me. But yeah,
It completely wrecked Dave.
I think again, I wasn't that used to horror films either at that point, so I was just a bit like,
I think you sold me on it.
Yeah. But and also the Weekend of Trash did bring me to watch easily the worst film of all time for me, which is The Rollerblade 7. Like, it's so I've never struggled to watch a film as much as I did that. It's so awful. That was the one that few times, and we've watched some bad films the Weekend of Trash, but all three there might be, I think there might be some others with us there, I can't remember, but definitely me, you, and Andrew. And it was a slog. There were moments where like, will we turn it off? It's like, no, we refuse to stop a film halfway through. And oh my god, that was horrendous. Just, I mean, some films are so bad they're good, but it's horrible. Oh god.
And then you did some research and found out there was about 5 more.
Yeah, they've made loads of them. No.
We should do a feature covering the entire franchise.
No. And the recent bad one that we still joke about is The Hospital, which is just messed up. And I think Andrew or Bill bought The Hospital too and keep trying to get me to watch it because they knew that. No. Oh god. But yeah. Oh, we could talk about Weekend Trash forever though, but it's
we're going off track again, aren't we?
Yeah, going off track. I mean, has anyone else got any feature articles they want to mention
I mean, I guess I'll just shout out some of the interviews I've done because I've found that I haven't really done too much in the way of features. I did like a one-off that I wanted to end up doing more of called What Went Wrong, where I kind of analyze like failed features and stuff, and I did like a big like write-up on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2009, 2010 or something. And I wanted to go back to do more of that, but I couldn't find any things where I was like, I need to talk about this production, because most of the time I feel like films that people don't like with troubled productions, I end up liking anyway. So it's like, I don't know if they'd be applicable. But in terms of the interviews, I mean, Kevin Smith, that was delightful.
Yeah.
I had such a great time like interviewing him, and it was I say this to many, I guess, I mean, if people behind my letterbox, they'll know this anyway, but I interviewed him for a film I really didn't like. Like, I really, really didn't like his latest film. But if anything, I kind of look back on that in a way that I'm just proud of myself that I was able to come up with a series of questions that still landed the interview, you know. And he was such a delight to talk to, and I think even though I wasn't a fan of the film, I was so glad to see his passion for film like kind of thriving again after what seemed like there was like a bit of a drought for a couple of years where I was like, is he really like enjoying this? But no, he seems to really be like passionate about it. So Kevin Smith, I had a great time interviewing him. I really liked interviewing Francis Galucci. I'm really bad with names, but he directed The Last Stop in Yuma County, which is great. Did you end up checking that out, David?
No, I keep wanting to pick it up. I'm waiting for it to be on sale. I think it was on sale recently. It wasn't quite cheap enough. I was waiting for it to go down a little bit more.
Yeah, but no, interviewing him was like delightful too, because I loved that film. It's one of my, I think it came out early this year, so I'm counting it as a 2025 film. One of my favorites of the year so far. And yeah, just like the interviews in general, like interviewing Fran from Radiance was great as well. Like that was just a big one for me too, because I've been collecting like Arrow video stuff and like Radiance stuff for so long. So being able to kind of ask questions to like one of the minds behind these labels, I was just like, whoa, this is kind of a surreal little moment, but that was great. But yeah, I guess I'd just highlight the interviews. And Kean Roach Turner, who directed Sting, the horror, the like spider horror movie from a few years ago. That film gets a really bad rap, and I don't know why. I think it's really fun. I saw it in the cinema, and I heard the reviews were kind of like mixed, and I was like, okay, this is probably just going to be a crap film. I ended up really loving it. And then I was, as soon as the email came, I was like, yes, let me cover this. And then I think it mentioned something about an interview opportunity. I was like, yes, I want to talk to this guy. And I have like an unlisted video because they send the videos over once you do the interviews, and we ended up. I thought I would get maybe like 15-20 minutes because that's how long the interview was supposed to go on for. But we ended up talking for like close to an hour. We were just like talking about a bunch of stuff, and I was like, "This is great!" Like I would have spoke for longer if I had more interview questions, but no. The interviews, I think they've been like the big, like just kind of the most memorable thing for me because I'm just like, wow, I never thought I'd even be interviewing anyone in general. So
did you review Mark Dacascos as well? Am I making that up?
I did. That was my first. That was
that
my
would have been a
very
big one for
first.
me.
It was for you covered the Brotherhood of a Wolf.
Yes,
That's it. Yes, it was for that, and that was again just such an unbelievable time, and he was so lovely as well. Like I've got the video recording somewhere, but he said hi to my mum because my mum's a big fan of a lot of the films he was in, like Brotherhood of the Wolf, and I think at the end I was just like, my mum's a big fan. And he was like, shout out to Charmaine. I was like, yeah, that's amazing. But no, I need to like accept more interview opportunities because I always have such a good time doing it.
I always chicken out of them. I should do one of these days. I don't know, I get nervous about it. It's weird because I do interviews for work, but I don't know, I get a bit starstruck, and I don't know. One of these days I'll get one done.
You've got to do one for like one of the martial arts releases or something. Like if there's ever something for like a Eureka thing, you're perfect for that.
Well, I think Justin's about to mention one we almost did. Yeah,
with Scott Adkins.
We were supposed to interview Scott Adkins, and it was during a weekend of trash. We were all there, and we set up. It was in the early days, really, of like Zoom and things like that, and we tried to set up a Zoom call, and it just wouldn't work. We could hear him.
We could hear him, but
he couldn't hear us. It was so frustrating. It was like, and we just couldn't reorganize it, and it was such a shame.
But we did have a nice because we did see him and meet him at Accident Man premiere, didn't we? So, photograph taken.
Yeah, that was a really good night. That he seems like a really top guy. Really, I enjoyed that. Yeah, he did good. He did a Q&A about Accident Man. You could see he was so passionate about it. It was
Accident Man's really fun. I liked the sequel even more. I don't know if you saw the sequel, but I thought it was great. I think ironically out of like the list of like people I would like to interview the most, Scott Adkins is like up there for me. Like I wanted to interview him for. They never sent the link. What was that film that just came? Diablo. I wanted to cover that for the site, and like get an interview, but they never. I don't think they ever got back about that. I would have loved to interview Scott for that because
maybe he still remembers us and he's like, oh, I'm not doing those guys again. Maybe it was a while ago though, but you never know. Cool. Well, I had one more list to mention, and that was favorite special feature. So this is actual specific special features that I wanted to highlight. I'll run through my bottom of the list, and that's basically the deleted scenes from the complete Monterey Pop Festival. You basically get at least another film's worth of concert footage with some amazing bands. So I got to mention that. Then you've got Sam Peckinpah, Man of Iron, from Arrow Video's release of Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, which is great in itself, but they also have the 10-hour cut of the film, which is crazy. But it's really amazing. And then also on A Brighter Summer's Day, there is a documentary on new Taiwan cinema, which I just found fascinating, and it made me want to watch so many of the titles listed on there. Fortunately, a lot of them still haven't been released. And then also you've got, I mentioned the disc before, but the film adventurer Carol Zeman, which is a documentary about Carol Zeman on the fabulous Baron Munchausen. That was amazing. It's a really good documentary showing his work in stop motion animation, and as well as his directing and things. But finally, my favorite special feature that I have reviewed for the site has got to be Final Game of Death from Arrow's Bruce Lee set, Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest set. That's a phenomenal piece of work. It's a long watch, but I don't know. I just found it hypnotic the way it kind of works. I'm trying to remember the details now, but it's just absolutely stunning. Like he's basically going through in detail the production of Game of Death and kind of what the final version, what the original kind of version might have looked like. So it shows loads of. They've basically gathered every bit of material they could possibly find about the film to try and kind of piece together what Bruce Lee's original vision might have been, and it's just a phenomenal extra. It had to be my favorite. on there. How about you guys? Did you have any specific extras? I don't know if this might not be one you've looked up, but
I didn't write anything for this, but I had to go find the name of one because one immediately sprung to mind. It's from that Blair Witch Project release.
yeah.
It's the Blair Witch documentary, which again I've got to say, I think it's like 2.5 hours long, and it kind of chronicles the entire production. But what's really, really interesting about it is outside of them interviewing the directors and a bunch of the key crew members from that time, there is like unreleased footage from like the rehearsal like sessions before they went out into the woods to film that's just incredible to finally see after what, like 99, like after 25 years, like being able to see all of this footage. It's essentially just sat on shelves for years. I was blown away by that. It's one of my favorite documentaries of the past few years, and it's worth buying the release for itself, the Blair Witch documentary. But
I must admit that I had the earlier Blu-ray of the film and I thought, oh, I'll be all right with that. But now you mentioned this, and like,
it's so good.
Yeah,
it's like genuinely like what did I put? I think I put it at my third favorite. Yeah, I put it at my third favorite. I might even bump it up to second the more I think about it, because I'm like, no, this is like just such a great release. Even if you're not huge on the film, I think
I like the film quite a bit.
I think it will just make you appreciate it even more. That it's like one of those, and again, free cuts of me. It's great. But yeah, no, that's the one that's like sprung to mind. But there's so many others that I could mention. Most of the time, they are the feature-length documentaries.
Yeah.
I feel like they're the ones that just so much effort has been put into all of those, and the interviews are great. The one for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was great as well. I think that runs for about 100 minutes, but they got interviews with tons of like kind of like admirers of the film, and like Fede Alvarez and a lot of other horror filmmakers kind of gushing about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but also how it kind of influenced them to make films themselves. It was a really good documentary.
Actually, I've just been reminded of one other special feature that I love. It's a much shorter one. It's not as spectacular as like a feature like this documentary, but really hit me was there's an interview on the 101 Films release of Alligator. I think we mentioned it before on the podcast, but the interview with Bryan Cranston,
yes,
it's amazing. And again, like the what Callie would say, I found it strangely moving, like because he worked as like an assistant on the film, I think, and so he was so kind of it was quite a foundational moment for his kind of career, so he's really passionate about it and he's honest about it, and it's that's one of my favorite interviews I've seen on anything. And it's not that long or anything like that. It's just really good.
I picked up the Shout Factory release, and it incled that. And
I think it was probably made originally for that, maybe.
But because on the back, like on the 4K, it's somewhere here, but on the 4K, it doesn't mention that interview is there, so it's almost like a surprise. So when you pop the disc in, you're like, wait, that Bryan Cranston? Then you pop it on, you're like, what? No, that's a great interview.
Cool. How about you, Justin? Is there any particular special features that jumped to mind, or?
Well, well, I mean, as I said, the Cliff Tremolo documentary covers a special feature, if you like, on the actual set. But so that was well worth watching. It's not a special feature. It's a box set. Well, it's a special release. You know, you said about the Agfa box sets. But I did a one called the Scare Film Archives, which was about drug stories. And that was bizarre but really interesting. And also years ago, for the site I reviewed, it was like the history of beer, but it was kind of more social history, and it had sort of just films of people down at a local pub and playing all sorts of pub games and stuff like that. It was a fascinating social history about beer and how the English have kind of this kind of interesting pub culture. And there was some sort of films from the 1920s, 1930s, 40s. It was all right through the ages to about the 1980s, and that was a really interesting. I think it was about 4-disc set sort of thing, and I only really got it because a friend of mine was, I think she's now deputy director for Camera Campaign for Real Hours, so she's kind of come a long way sort of thing. But ended up lending her the set afterwards. A really interesting set. Talking of favourite commentaries, I think my favourite film commentaries on the Evil Dead special edition with one's with Bruce Campbell where he slags off Sam Raimi and Robert Talbot, and ones with Robert Talbot and Sam Raimi, who they completely slag Bruce off in a very humorous way. And
Brilliant,
I think
yeah.
all my favourite audio commentaries. Yeah, and also, because they're so insightful about low budget filmmaking, it's really interesting.
It's always the low budget extras are the best, really. The studio films that you do sometimes get some. I can remember the Blade. I love the epic. I mean, this isn't one I've reviewed it, but the I can't remember what it's called, but the very long documentary on the Blade Runner release.
Dangerous Days.
Yeah, and it's like 2.5 hours long or something, but that's incredible documentary. But as I say, it's usually the kind of the low budget. I can remember. I must admit, I've only seen the one of the first DVD releases of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I can remember the commentaries on that being really good. Like, again, because it was done on a wing and a prayer sort of thing. It's fascinating to see how it was all put together.
There was a commentary for the new, like the 2023-2024 release, but I can't remember who was on it, and I'm blanking right now. It was one of the brand new commentaries, but one thing I found very peculiar but quite interesting about that one is they actually filmed and recorded the commentary inside the house, or like the area which was the house, because I think now it's like a restaurant or something. But like they recorded that commentary in the house, and I'm just like, this is so odd, but I love that. I love that they went to those lengths to just create a unique commentary track.
What commentary? I was listening to a commentary recently where it was like a drinking game. Oh, it wasn't for the site. It was a Euro trip. But I was watching the Euro trip for I did a podcast about it recently, and they do a drinking game where I think every time someone swears and any time there's some boobs on screen or something, they have to drink, and they're absolutely wasted by the end of the film. And that's a good one.
I have to say, for commentaries, I've covered maybe one or two on the site, I feel like, but just in general, any Abel Ferrara commentary track is like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know if either of you have ever listened to an Abel Ferrara track, but they are incredible. He did one for The Driller Killer, and I distinctly remember, because I sometimes do YouTube videos, not as much anymore. I keep going back to it, but I kind of did a thing similar to what I do on Blueprint, where I'd like go through all of the extras, dive into them, and for The Driller Killer, the commentary is just him laughing at how bad he thinks the film is now. And there's one point where he says, "I'm only here because Fran," because I think Fran was the head at the time of Arrow. He was like, "I'm only here because he said he'd pay me $3,000," and he says that like on the commentary track, and I'm like, brilliant. I love this guy.
I say I met him. He was at a screening that I've been at. We went to Cannes. He was showing one of his more obscure kind of documentaries that he made about a hotel. I can't remember what it was called, his New York hotel. But he was there for the screening, so he kind of walked past me. I've been close to him, but I didn't actually speak to him.
I would love to talk to him. I don't know if I could interview him, because I feel like it would go off the rails immediately. Like, just based on all of the interviews I've seen with him, I'm just like, I don't think I'd be able to really ask him anything. I think he'd just go on, but I would love that. I would just love to see that in person, because I think any interview or any commentary with him always ends up high in my ranking for just the most memorable bonus features out there.
Cool. Well, I just realized it's getting late. I have finished my list, but is there anything else? Did anyone else write any different lists or different kind of awards or whatever that have not been mentioned that they want to throw in there before we tie things up?
Actually, you go first, Justin. I feel like I've
I was going to say, does anyone have any worst films that they've reviewed? I think I have two.
I've mentioned one already, and that's definitely it's Rollerbase 7. But I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, so I did one for Kill Keith. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Chegwin being the star, and also Dear God No, which was an awful wannabe Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of biker film, which didn't really do much, and threw a Yeti in for a good measure. So those are two really bad films. What about you?
I will say, this one I just did of my own accord, because I got out of the cinema and I was like, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I did write a review for Eli Roth's Borderlands adaptation last year. And initially, I was writing this review, and I was just going to post it to my Letterboxd, and I was like, I wrote so much, I'm just going to publish it for Blueprint. I'm like, this is an epic. So the Borderlands one, I feel like, is one of the more mean. I guess mean is the right word. I don't like to be mean in my reviews very often, but that one is one that sticks out. And then for films that like I don't feel like I've covered a lot that I like really disliked or hated for the site, which is good. I'm glad. Like because I'm looking at this list right now, I can only see like 3, maybe 4 films I've given 1 star to. So, and the only other ones is this Hellraiser Bloodline, which I also mentioned before. That is a atrocious little horror movie. I've watched it a handful of times, and I always go back to it, and I'm like, I hope I like it this time. No, terrible. And I was really, even though I love the box set, I was really disappointed by the 3rd entry in the Ginger Snaps trilogy. Ginger Snaps Back the Beginning, which takes it back to let me actually open this up and it will tell me where it takes this film, but these are the first 2 films are set in the modern day, so like late 90s, early 2000s, and it's a prequel set entered in the 19th century on the origins of these werewolves, and it sounds really cool, but it's like the most boring film I think I've ever like it, I was struggling to get through it. I was like, this is so dull and completely unengaging. I guess that one might take the cake, but at the same time, I don't think it's like one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's just for the site, I've been lucky enough to cover stuff that I mostly like or love, which is good. But
yeah, I mean, I mentioned this before. I guess for me, I do cherry pick. So, but it is the weekend of trash when I have seen it. So, I mean, we do catch plenty of gems in there, but we do watch some really bad films sometimes as well. So, yeah, and as I say, Rollerblade 7 and The Hospital are probably the standouts for me. But I can't think of one that I've actually like a screen or anything like that that's really I've really laid into. I'm sure there are some from my 1,500 reviews or whatever I've got there, but nothing's springing to mind other than those 2 from Weekend of Trash. Yeah.
I'll put everyone on the spot for this because I had a top 5 ranking, but I kind of don't want to do a ranking. I just figured we could all go around and just give our mention for this, or maybe an honorable mention. What's everyone's favorite boutique label right now?
Oh, it's so hard, this one. I don't want to... I've got a few favorites. I think I might be leaning to, and this isn't just because I've done a lot of work for them, maybe a little bit, but I'm really falling in love with Radiance. I think Radiance. I think for me, I love discovering films that I've didn't really know about, and that's what they're good for. They're fantastic for bringing out films that I may have vaguely heard of, quite often have never heard of. And I look them up and think, oh, that sounds interesting, and like 90% of the time they're really good. So possibly, but I don't know. I love a lot of the labels for different reasons. Another one that I want to give a shout out to is Second Run. Just again, they release some fascinating films that no one else is touching. But all the labels we cover, they're all great in different ways. I don't want to choose. It's like choosing your favorite child.
no, it was so difficult for me because like even now I'm looking at this list and I'm like, oh, but I feel bad because there's these other labels. But I've just got to shout out Second Sight Films. They're my favorite. Like I'll cover films that like most of the time I feel like I love a lot of what they put out, but there'll be some films that I'm not huge on. Like one example is Your Next. I revisited that for the site. Wasn't huge on the film, but like the release is just so immaculate. Like it's such a gorgeous looking transfer, and like all of the interviews with the cast, the crew, they always go above and beyond. I just picked up the limited edition for the Florida project that they put out, and I'm overwhelmed by how many extras are in that release. Like I think they state that it's like 5.5 hours of new interviews on it, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get around to watching it. I probably will, but I did watch the one with Willem Dafoe, and he's like recounting his time on it, and I'm like, oh no. Second Sight, I think, kind of like they're just unbeatable, but I do want to shout out, even though I still need to dive into so many of the releases from them, I want to shout out BFI purely because I've been going through their releases recently to catalog like the titles in my collection, and I figured they add a lot of like bonus like supplemental short films and everything, and I was so blown away by how many like archival films are included in these releases. I've covered a few for the site like Watership Down, which has some animated films that kind of relate to the themes and were worked on by some of the crew members. But No, I was just blown away by how many short films in particular were included on their releases. So I just wanted to shout them out
Yeah,
because I think it's worth
Yeah.
mentioning because not many.
They're really underrated, I think, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But how about you, Justin?
Yeah, talking about BPR, I've covered some of their short, sharp shocks series. And I quite like you say, I really enjoy that they've dug out of the archive some really obscure short films and some features actually.
Yeah.
So they had one called I think it was The Appointment, which I reviewed, and that was really quite a cool sort of little horror film, and they had some interesting extras of that one as well. I mean, I've always been a fan of Arrow, probably because I've got probably a lot of theirs, as part of my private collection. 88 films have kind of grown in my estimation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although I still have a suspicion they might have nicked my copy of Burial Ground for their trashy version of that on their Blu-ray. But anyway, got no proof. And I also really like Powerhouse, the Indicator series.
Yeah.
So those are all good. So there's so many good labels out there now.
Yeah. What one we haven't mentioned again, which is probably up there with my favorites, that and they've been with us since they were maybe the second or third label to get on board with us, along with BFI was another early one, is Eureka. Like Eureka, they put out some amazing things. So as I say, I do love all the labels really, but as I say, I think I mentioned Radiance and Second Run mainly for the discovery side of things. I love it. I love watching films that I've never heard of that are kind of gems. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that might be a good place to kind of tie things up. So yeah, thank you too for joining me in this kind of loving of Blueprint Review. It's nice to kind of look back at what we've covered. There's covered a lot of amazing things over the last 15 years. Again, I really want to thank all the contributors to the site. A lot of people, some people have come and gone and don't contribute anymore, but I still want to thank them for everything they put into it. And then we've got newer writers who've just been coming on in the last month or so. And I've got to thank you all for your hard work. We all just do it for the love and for the free discs. And also, as I mentioned before, the distributors, the labels, and the PR guys who kind of send us the discs. Without them, I'd just be randomly reviewing odds and sods that people probably won't be that interested in. So big shout out to those guys as well. So yeah, thank you too for joining me on the show. I hope you enjoyed yourselves.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
See you both. Bye.
Bye.